Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, May 16th, 2025. What do we have in the cards right now? Can I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with our 6 of Swords in its upright. I like to see the 6 of Swords in its upright. The 10 of Pentacles is a little bit more difficult, but I want to kind of stress that something that we see that is important that's happening right now has to do with working through identifying and recognizing adaptability, tenacity, and change. One of the things that we had to work through with this, we talked a lot about this during that Scorpio full moon, is the space by which we change or the space by which we adapt is important because it shows us how far we've come, right? And there's something about that full moon. I keep on seeing that. I feel like that full moon that we just went through was either a full moon about being able to appreciate how much one has changed, or simultaneously setting the intention as to how one plans to change, right? It's all about that force of change. And it's either, I keep on seeing, it was either like the looking back upon the change and appreciating how far one has come, or recognizing and identifying what one is hoping to do better in order to facilitate those changes going forward. It's not easy, right? But we talk about here that healthy path work is not about something that is energetically indulgent. Like a good spiritual journey is not one that you just pat yourself on the head and tell yourself how energetically special you are. It's identifying what it is that is required of the self to move towards the highest self. And so I keep on hearing like there's a lot of this work right now that is articulating and recognizing what that heavy lifting is, right? The space of identifying it. And this is what happens when we heal our egos, right? Because our egos want us to be in the space of identifying that we're energetically perfect, right? Never are we more fragile than when we feel like we are perfect. Because often that energetic space is where we can recognize or identify that the ego is too much in a space of being able to navigate something. When we're in like, and we identify this in the people we care about, right? Working through something, hashing something out, being able to recognize and identify something that one could be doing better, something that one, is working on. This is the context by which we're able to, I keep on getting, create new ground. And for a lot of the energy right now, I want to say doing that work is bittersweet. Doing that work is like, I keep on hearing the love that gets its hands dirty. Because as I mentioned, a lot of this energy right now is in magician energy and separation. And this is the energy that is also working in the context of identifying and remembering that one does not need to be perfect to enter partnership. One just needs to be self-aware enough to know what one is working on, right? It's not about being flawless. None of us are perfect. And interestingly, the more that we talk towards we consider our flaws, right? We also had a lot of that conversation about the flaws that don't become a resting point, right? That's why I kept on getting the message in the last reading we had, all work, no excuses. Because when we're working to turn a flaw into a facet, right? When we're working to take something and improve upon it, it's not the observation that says, oh, I'm not good at that, deal with it, right? It's not that space where it creates that space of latency. It's a point of activation. And I like the fact that I'm seeing that for a lot of the energy across in separation right now, that ability to talk about what one is working on, to talk about what one is trying to improve upon, I just keep on seeing it's allowing for a lot, like there's a lot of heavy conversation in some of these new connections, because I keep on hearing like this is the energy that says, let's get the hard conversation out of the way. Better that we have a hard conversation now than we move each other off of alignment in relationality to what it is that we're trying to create. And so everything I keep on seeing here, it's bittersweet and it's not easy. But I keep on seeing that ability of making the best out of things, that ability of working something through, right? This is the energy that is proving to each other that the love that they're able to express and find is not conditional on finding the perfect situation. Because we talked a lot about the fact that a healthy manifestation isn't about working through aversion. It's not about turning your nose towards what's not that. It's about identifying and recognizing what you're mutually working on that allows for that space of, I keep on hearing, what's the word I'm looking for? Serendipity. And what is serendipity? Like, this is the energy that feels like they're finding each other in serendipitous circumstances, because the serendipity of being able to be authentic and vulnerable about what it is that you're working on allows for the serendipity of another person to connect with you and say, I am also working on that. And that allows for that expansion point of possibility that leads to activation. Center card in our spread is bottom of this has been happening ever since Pluto entered retrograde. I don't know if you guys have picked up on this. The last few days, every time I go to grab the card, it sticks to the table. Ever since the Pluto in retrograde started, where we just keep on pulling inadvertently from the bottom of the deck. But I'm not surprised, because that's all, like, that's what the Pluto in retrograde is about. Like, Pluto in retrograde season is all about the bottom of the deck. It's just like working on the underbelly. What do we got here? Yep, there it is. A lot of that, oh man, a lot of that Five of Swords in its reversal. And I like this too. For energy coming into divine union, I keep on seeing this is a period of heavy catharsis. This is a period of heavy catharsis, because something that I'm seeing about the catharsis that's happening, for a lot of the energy, this is the catharsis that happens after a breakthrough, is what I'm identifying. And why are we seeing that there's some kind of catharsis that's happening right now outside of a breakthrough? Because as I mentioned, for a majority of the energy coming into divine union, that ability of having a heart opening leading up into this Scorpio full moon, and not allowing it to destabilize, not allowing one to become reactive in it, instead being able to talk through it. The message that we were getting last week is the difference between the energy of a breakthrough and a breakdown is exactly the same. A breakdown is when we react to the trauma that we carry. A breakthrough is when we talk through it. And so I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of that energy that's working on, I keep on hearing they're working on the lessons of putting the weapons down. Because when we're healing, it's understanding that there's things that we learn in points of trauma that we need to protect ourselves. And this is how the energy is healing, because they're remembering that when you're in an energetic sanctuary, it's a place where it's safe to put the weapons down. And so this is the energy that's finding that sanctuary in partnership, that's allowing for a lot of the intimacy wounds to be healed. But it's not easy, because it feels extremely vulnerable. And there's something about that vulnerability that I keep on seeing. It's like, it's fragile, right? It's working through how like, that's what vulnerability is. It's working through something that feels energetically fragile, because I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy communicating in ways that they haven't, because they're realizing that they're in a space finally in partnership where it's safe to be in their authenticity. Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread for today, we have here our 2 of Wands in its upright in combination with our 5 of Pentacles in its upright. Now for the energy deep within divine union, I think I told you that I see this energy kind of moving more into a space of judgment. And I think that this is coming towards the fact that we're moving towards Gemini season. A lot of that work, or a lot of that space of taking the temperature of things, feeling things out. This is a lot of the energy that's going through the same work of Scorpio, of the Scorpio full moon, in identifying what it is that they're working to change either within, or what it is that they're working to change without. And I keep on seeing that that is the gift of having the healthy partnership that allows one to feel the stabilization point in terms of, like, I keep on hearing something feeling like I keep on hearing the word solidarity in the energy deep within divine union. And why is there so much of that energy that's coming into the space of solidarity? Because this is the energy that when we understand what the work is that we've set before us, then we feel stable within it. Then that's when we start feeling the word solidarity. So I just keep on seeing that there's something about that as it relates to articulating and identifying what those changes are, but also appreciating like what those, like I keep on hearing, solidifying plans for the future, stabilizing something in some way, shape, or form. And there's something about that stabilization point that feels energetically reaffirming, because this is the energy that says to one another that that ability of finding stability is one that they create together. And I keep on hearing they don't lean on one another for it. They stand beside one another, right? Because when we're strong in ourselves, our partnerships feel like they have solidarity, because we don't feel the weight of another person's expectations on us, but it creates the ability to stand up straight, is what I keep on hearing. Continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our 6 of Swords in its reversal. We've got here the 7 of Pentacles in its upright. This is like, it's feeling very Capricorn today. You know, I got to stress, there's a lot of Capricorn energy today, which, and for me, when I see a lot of Capricorn energy, it feels like a lot of focusing on productivity, focusing on what's energetically productive. I keep on hearing always patient, never waiting. Because when we wait, we feel like we are in a rut, right? We've been talking a lot about this. This is what, like, and the thing is, when Mercury is in Taurus, it can sometimes feel similar to a Mercury retrograde. So if you're feeling a little bit of that, like, if you're feeling a little bit of that drag today, if you're feeling a little bit of that rut energy, I want you to embody the statement, always patient, never waiting, which is not waiting around for something to happen, but utilizing stillness in productive ways that allows for, I keep on seeing, allows for creativity to emerge, or allows for communication to expound upon. It's a lot, I just keep on seeing, remember, patience is waiting in productive ways. And when we're building towards manifestations, healthy wishes are spaces that we wait upon. Manifestations are ones that we're productive through, because there's no waiting in manifestations. Continuing to get clarification between our 6 of Swords in its reversal and our 5 of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify. There it is. A lot of that 7 of Wands in its reversal. I feel like there's, you know, I got to talk about this to a certain extent. I feel like there was potentially like a lot of this buildup of tension that we sometimes have prior to these. The Scorpio full moons can sometimes be a little anxiety inducing, or if you have issues with anxiety, sometimes they can bring them out, specifically because it's prickly. it's the best way I can describe it. It's prickly energy. It's working through the context of change. But that's what we talk about here as it relates to being adaptable, because that work or that experience, like that's why I keep on hearing that when we're waiting for something, and all right, hold on, this is like a nuanced message coming through. When we're waiting for something, when it feels like we're waiting for something, that's how we start building into bitterness, right? Like that's why we talk about the difficulty in relationality to waiting, that isn't just about kind of like remembering a healthy manifestation is not one that you don't look around and go, why isn't it happening? Right? Because like that's where bitterness emerges from. But that's why I keep on seeing that there's something really freeing that's happening for the energy in separation, because there's something about the relationships that are forming right now that they're not holding things personally, right? They're I just keep on seeing like they're giving each other clarity. They're identifying what that productivity point is. And I feel like this is a little bit of that move that we're having as it relates to Gemini, which allows for that context of when something is becoming difficult, right? Instead of getting like frustrated about it, instead of it just approaching it and saying like, what do you need? Right? Like just allowing for that space of like being energetically adaptable. Sometimes things turn out even better than you expected them to. Right? Like it's a lot of that work in terms of the lessons of navigating the open palm, which is looking towards things like not looking towards your manifestations like gimme, right? But looking at something and saying, what do I need to bring to a situation? How can I make something more adaptable? And so I keep on getting that a little of the gift that the energy right now that is coming together in partnership is giving one another is pragmatism. Right? Because that ability of being energetically pragmatic, the ability to adapt to circumstances and not take things personally, this is potentially also in relationality to the conversation that they're having about moving more slowly, healing from situations or circumstances wherein someone's words didn't match their actions, or someone was giving a lot to begin with, but then it was like them like moving into a space of like a lack of interest or something of that nature. So everything I keep on seeing here, like there's a lot of unpacking today, particularly and especially in the realms of talking about the past. Like a lot of, like I got to point this out, like the 7 of Wands, the 5 of Swords, and the 6 of Swords in its reversal. This is a lot of talking about the past that I'm seeing here, but talking about the past in a way that feels like it's liberating, because this is the energy. I just keep on seeing the energy. I told you, what is the demarcation point of some of these partnerships? I'm happy to talk about it. Nothing that's not on the table. You know, like working through something in such a way in order to find a better understanding of it. Now, for the energy coming into divine union, what we're effectively seeing here is this is like there's a lot of adaptation that I see is occurring for the energy coming into divine union. And so it's interesting because for the energy in separation, I'm getting that these are messages of recalibration. For the energy coming into divine union, I'm getting these are messages of adaptation, like working on something in a way, or having a different perspective on something, or seeing something in a different way. For energy deep within divine union right now, I'm going to get clarification here between our 5 of Wands and its reversal in combination with our 2 of Swords Two of Wands, correction. There's that nine of Pentacles. This feels like rest and relaxation. This feels like some kind of desire to move into a place of energetic easement. But this is, I need to point this out. Like, remember when we talked about the fact that I feel like this Taurus season is challenging us, especially with the Scorpio full moon, to find greener pastures. The reason I keep on getting the fact that this Taurus season is challenging us to find greener pastures has to do with understanding that working through discomfort is what brings us to a greener pasture. That being able to step outside of our comfort zone, right? Working on the context of pushing ourselves in ways that we haven't before that allow for new strength to be found, right? Because the things that we are able to do naturally are gifts. The things that we have to work on, right? And we have to put at, like, we have to stretch ourselves upon our talents. So I keep on hearing like a lot of that space, like trying to take something and move oneself into a space of doing something that you haven't done before, but something that you desire to do. That's this type of energy right now, right? It's not just pining for it. It's looking towards what one has to do to energetically get there. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Wands in combination with our Four of Pentacles, and it's upright. Two cards coming out. Oh, there it is. We've got here our Empress in its upright in combination with our Ace of Wands in its upright. So I think that this is really beautiful because I feel like this is what's effectively happening right now for masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. For a lot of the, I keep on seeing that for a lot, you'll recall that we talked about for a lot of the masculine energy right now, doing that work, finding a way to communicate authentically. This is very difficult because I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of that work that's happening in relation to masculine, learning to articulate authentically, that feels like a reclamation. I told you that this feels a lot like inner child healing, having to like go back to a time like as a child where they were able to articulate their feelings more effectively. So there's a lot of, I almost get like the masculine energy right now is almost like reparenting themselves to a certain extent in the ability to understand that having emotions is not antithetical to being a masculine, right? That in fact, when a masculine is able to just talk about how they feel, but not react to it, to not work through feeling rejection for articulating authentically. Like there's a lot of this masculine that's coming into new strength via finding the ability of being vulnerable. And this is how the masculine is healing, because this is the masculine that looks towards that authenticity and says to the self that the feminine energy that is in alignment to them will see that authenticity as a gift. They won't be repelled by it. They'll be attracted towards it. And this is why the journey of authenticity allows for authentic connections. Because if not, right, if we're always hiding our feelings, then it feels like we enter relationships with those that do not know us, right? So there's a lot of this, like I keep on hearing, there's a lot of this energy that is working on articulating upon something, but I keep on hearing it's kind of like training wheels. Now, for feminine energy, I just keep on seeing feminine energy that is more in the space of working on not pleasing, not overly concentrating on the need to please others. Because all I keep on hearing for feminine energy right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is when feminine energy tries to please everyone, feminine energy becomes too spread, too thin. So when feminine energy tries to please everyone, they ultimately end up not being for anyone, themselves included, because that's the feminine that says there's nothing left. Like that's the energy that feels like there's not, like it's like the energy of the feminine that's working on energetic recall to a certain extent via finding their own strength, right? Working on their own ability to communicate how they feel about things, not just feeling like they need to be in the space of agreeing constantly, right? There's a lot of that. I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this energy that is healing from the feeling that in order to be feminine, one must be agreeable all the time, right? Like the agreeability, like healing from the agreeability. Right? It's like, I see some feminine energy that's working in the space of saying, never do I feel safer than being able to say to someone, you're wrong, and they don't take it energetically personally, is what I keep on seeing. So what do we see is happening for a lot of these relationships? And this is the feminine that says, if I'm not agreeable, and a masculine takes that personally, again, I'm not building into the context of a masculine that is energetically wounded by the fact that I don't necessarily agree with them, right? So I told you, these are energies that are like kind of challenging each other in those spaces, but challenging each other in the best ways possible. Continuing to get clarification between our our 8 of Pentacles in combination with our 7 of Wands in its reversal. We've got here our 5 of Wands. A lot of Wands today, and it's an interesting spread. There's a lot of minor arcana on the table. So, the one thing I'm going to say right now that's happening for energy coming into divine union, this is energy healing from false illusions of the self. These are the chariot partnerships that are entering partnership, and they're releasing the false illusions that were created of the self in trauma-informed environments. Because that's the difficulty of being in a space of trauma. It's believing what you hear of yourself there. Because those spaces of being in a trauma-informed environment often try to, like I keep on getting, try to tell us we are things that we're not, right? So that discovery, right, that recognition of the difference between, I keep on hearing healing from another person's never, right? Like healing from the wounds of another person's never, which is saying healing from the wounds of another person projecting their own pain onto you. This is a lot of the energy that's healing via the connection that says that's not you. Right? That was some projection that someone was trying to put on you because it was easier for them to give that to you than to come into acceptance of something. So I keep on hearing that a lot of that work or a lot of that space, it's difficult. It's painful. There's energetic release there because this is the energy that is understanding. I keep on hearing healing from the illusion of the self that trauma had informed upon them. Continuing to get clarification between our 7 of Wands in its reversal in combination with our 9 of Pentacles in its reversal. There's that 7 of Pentacles in its upright. And as I mentioned, the one thing we need to talk about right now, Mercury's in Taurus. Okay. And here's the thing about Mercury being in Taurus right now. It's Taurus energy it's very majestic. It's very processional. It's very heavy. It's heavy steps. It's like Atlas energy. It's a lot of that, like moving, like magnificent, like majestic energy. There's a lot of gravitas. Mercury hits the house of Taurus, and it's like it needs to, like, I like to describe it like Mercury wants to run through the halls, and it's got to walk through Taurus because it's about like working through the space of not rushing processes, not rushing through things. And you may be feeling this right now. If you're feeling a little bit of this like heavy drag energy, I don't want you to get frustrated. I want you to be patient with yourself. I want you to like look at type of like energy here, or like it's good for like tying up loose ends. It's good for like being energetically busy to a certain extent. But it can feel a little like dense in terms of like heaviness. So, and I need to talk about that. Like we talk a little bit about like all of whenever we're going through Taurus lessons, we're working on the energy of majesty. And majestic energy, it's like there's weight, right? It's all in the shoulders. So it's not about something being too hard. It's about recognizing what it's going to take to get there. So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that work between the difference between stubborn, like we're back on stubbornness. We're back on the conversations about stubbornness or tenacity. And what is, and we'll go through this one more time. What is the difference between stubbornness and tenacity? If you're ever unsure if you're being stubborn or tenacious, you have to ask yourself why you're holding on to something, right? And when you're holding on to something that is profoundly important, something that connects you to the higher self, there's usually going to be a very clear explanation as to why. Okay. There's going to be a good explanation as to why, right? The higher self says, sit down. How much time do you got? Well, we'll do this all day. Okay. But when we're being stubborn about something, we hold on to something and it doesn't feel like it fortifies us. It feels like we harbor it. It feels like we dwell in it. It feels like it feels like, it hurts to hold it. Like this is the gift that we're given. Like that's what's beautiful about all the gifts that we're given. You can identify something that you should probably let go of because the body creates bitterness. Like bitterness is literally like the alarm system of the body that says, you got to get rid of this. You got to get rid of this. This is not great. This is not great. Yeah, gotta stop worrying about that. Like that, this is not good. This is not good for us, right? Like when you look at bitterness like that, right? Not like something like, let's make more of it. Ooh, bitterness, like when you're not like, ooh, let's stir the bitterness. Like, no, like when you look at it more, like bitterness is your body's way of being like, I don't like this. I don't like thinking about this. I don't like holding on to this, right? Like it's a good note that says that's probably something you need to let go of because it's not serving your higher self. It's keeping you stuck somewhere, right? And so I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that work that's happening here across all of the frequencies, and that's what I see as beautiful. I keep on hearing the energy meeting one another. And the reason they can talk about something, and even in the way they're talking about something from the past, they're releasing bitterness. When we talk about something, we release the bitterness of it, right? And I keep on hearing, not bitter, better, right? Like this is the energy that says, it wasn't great, but I'm doing my best to try to turn it into something that doesn't stink, right? Doesn't stink. Right? Trying to move something into a space of being energetically productive. What's it going to take that bitterness and turn it into something that helps, right? And that's what we do on the healing journey. And that's why it's not easy, because being on a healing journey is not about saying I'm right and everybody around me is wrong all the time. It's working in the context of being energetically adaptable. It's working on identifying what one can take from a situation that allows one to come into a space of higher healing. And so I just keep on seeing that even here for some of the energy and separation, I told you they're pulling on the reins of the relationship, because this is energy that actually is like they're the only thing that I see a lot of the energy right now is bitter about the past, is the desire to move towards new energetic counterpart, right? With their arms open. Like this, I can hear some energy right now building into new relationships saying, I wish I could run into your arms, but I have to walk slowly because the last person's arms I ran into, they stepped out of the way and I fell flat on my face. Like that's the energy that says, like this is the energy that says, I want to run towards you, but I'm healing from a situation where I tried to run towards someone and they pulled the rug out from under me. Right. And so that's why I keep on seeing that this is the energy that acknowledges one another on that journey. And what are they giving each other? Take all the time you need. Right. They're letting Saturn do their work, because when we are building into healthy manifestations are not a means to an end. It's a joy in being together in any context is what I keep on seeing. Right. And so that brings us to a lot of the energy that is coming into divine union. And I just keep on seeing for a lot of the energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that is healing via the pledge of consistency that they give one another. And what are they saying to each other? They're not promising everything, they're promising every day. Right? Because that ability of promising every day, this is the energy that says every day is another opportunity to rebuild that love. Every day is another opportunity to make something right. I like this because this is the energy that is not saying, like I keep on seeing the reason that the energy is saying they're promising every day is because this is the energy that says every day I will find what it takes to arrive in the way that I need to face the day. And that's the energy that says to one another that they're healing from the trauma of the past by showing up every day to tell each other the reality of the present that speaks in opposition to any of the trauma of the past that they carried prior to that point, right? So that's like the energy that, again, they're giving each other reality checks. And the reality check is saying to each other, I pledge that this is what you can find here every day, that this joy is not exceptional. This joy is the energetic standard. That brings us to a lot of the energy deep within divine union. And for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, there's that Seven of Swords in its upright. So I'm just seeing here that a lot of this energy, this Seven of Swords energy, it's interesting too, because I keep on getting with the Seven of Swords energy. And I've got to tell you, this Seven of Swords, this card has been popping up like wild ever since Saturn started to cross over into Aries, right? And that's the energy. And I keep on hearing that that is the journey of saying forwards, not backwards. Right? Why is the energy deep within divine union saying forward, not backwards? We've got a lot of 7 on the table today, because the pledge that we give each other as it relates to healing is not the fact that sometimes we don't, like sometimes we have those moments, right? We have those moments that we stumble, but we don't fall. We have those moments that we have those points that are difficult for us. But I keep on seeing that this is the beauty of those connections, because these are the energetic connections that articulate and build towards the future, right? And that is the energy that looks to the past, not as an armory, but as a library, right? Because when we look to the past for weapons, when we look to the past to be angry, we can always find something to be angry about. We can always find something to carry bitterness on, right? Look under a stone and you will find something. But that ability to be practical, that ability to be energetically productive, that ability to articulate upon the changes that one is hoping to achieve, I just keep on seeing that this is the energy that works towards one another in partnership and says to one another every step of the way that journey of togetherness is one wherein they articulate and say to one another, like they give each other that encouragement, they give each other that support. And as we see, as I mentioned, the energy coming into divine union is looking each other in the eye and saying, this is the reality. You're here with me. The past is the past. We're not going back there. This is the energy that has each other's back deep within divine union. And they have each other's back because even when we're feeling those energetic reluctance points, we have those days where we have counterpart that pushes us forward in the direction that we know we need to go, even if we're energetically reluctant to go towards it. Right? Like that is the energy and that is almost the commitment or the assert, like the gift that they give one another, which is why we hear a lot of the energy deep within divine union saying, I promise never to take it easy on you, which says, I won't allow you to give up on yourself, right? It's easy to want to give up on yourself. It's easy to want to do so. But when you have that encouragement, it's that constant force of the force of love that says, always the hard way, never the easy way, because the easy way is giving up on yourself. And the hard work is where the love is. Continuing to get clarification between our 5 of Wands in combination with our 7 of Pentacles and its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through with the High Priestess. Love to see her on the table. We've been seeing the High Priestess a lot recently. And they were actually in our reading, not yesterday, the day before, it was in their reversal. Because a lot of this High Priestess energy, and I think it has to do with the fact that I told you there's a lot of Capricorn energy right now. I associate this sometimes to some of that energy as well. It's not about, I keep on hearing, it's the identification. And I feel like this is a bit of it. Magic is what we do with a difficult situation. Magic is not waiting for something magical to happen. We are each other's magic. When we look towards difficulty with that space of possibility, that is where magic happens. It's not about waiting for something to be. It's about being the energetic force that changes things. So I just keep on seeing that that's something that's happening to a certain extent across all of the frequencies. That ability of recognizing, and again, like I keep on hearing, that this is either energy coming out of that Scorpio full moon, recognizing the power of their own magic. And why are they recognizing the power of their own magic? The ability to see something and see how much they've changed, right? And in those moments that we see those places where we're able to look back and realize how much we've changed, and we welcome that change, then we recognize our own magic, because we recognize the power that exists within us to change ourselves in positive ways. Or coming out of this full moon, looking at something that one hopes to accomplish, setting those intentions, building into that context. This is the energy that appreciates the value and power of their magic, because they can see what it is that they aspire to in relationality to the higher self, and they're building the pathwork in terms of how to get there. Remembering that manifestation is not a latent act. You don't just sit there and wish for something to happen. Wishing doesn't do anything. Wishing is half the work, right? Right? When you wish to the universe and then you're not moving in accordance with the wish, the universe looks back at you and goes, that's rude. You're asking me to pick up all the slack? You're asking me to pick up all the slack. But when we look to the universe and we say, this is what I want, help me see how to get there. I'll meet you there. This is what I'd like, right? A good manifestation is not where is it? It's I'll meet you there, right? It's identifying and recognizing where the work is. And I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now in separation, there's a little bit of, I told you, there's a little bit of that slowness that is occurring here. There's a little bit of that like slowness that happens. But I'm also seeing that something about that slowness is the recognition of the space of someone that's not going anywhere. because this is the energy that is building into a relationship where they don't feel like they are each other's means to an end, right? Because that's often what happens when we're building into relationships that don't give us any clarity on where they're going, right? Often when we're in those relationships where we have no clarity on where something's going, it feels like we're in the construct of being a means to an end, right? The finalitude point of another's manifestation existing just in the space that we occupy in their existence. But when we're in healthy relationship, we have clarity on where something's going because we share those manifestations in whatever context they may be. So this is a lot of the energy that is articulating to one another what it is that they desire. And then they're showing each other through the force of consistency that they have what it takes to get there. This brings us to the energy coming into divine union. Double sevens here. 7 of Pentacles in combination with our 7 of Swords. Wow, 10 of Swords in its reversal. I like to see the 10 of Swords in its reversal, because the 10 of Swords in its reversal is working in the context of, again, always patient, never waiting. It's building into the space. Like, this is the energy. And I keep on hearing, I hear some energy right now coming into divine union saying this feels like a dream. And this is the energy that says it does feel like a dream. When you come into a space of joy and all you've known is trauma, this is why we heal from trauma. Because when we start to experience something that is good, but we're not ready for good, what happens? It feels too good to be true, and we start convincing ourselves that it's not for us. So this is the energy that's healing, because they're healing from the falsehood that trauma creates, that there's going to be another shoe that inevitably drops, that there's always going to be something that ruins the good. But when we heal from these spaces, this is why we heal from it, because that worry, like that worry about something bad happening, often creates it, because then we become too hyper anxious. We start looking for reasons. So that's why we keep on seeing that a lot of that energy is understanding that feeling, the anxiety that you find in trauma, it never goes away. Trauma-informed relationships are not about removing trauma. It's about suppressing it. It's not suppressing it, but not suppressing it like not suppressing it like that, but like making the energetic urge go away, right? Like pushing that away and saying, no, that's the past. That's not now, right? And that ability of being able to keep that feeling that one needed, the weapons of the past, from creating the difficulty point in the healthy energetic connection. This allows the ability of the relationship that becomes sanctuary, because what are the energies saying? What are these chariot partnerships saying to one another to continue to stabilize through some of those experiences? You're safe here. This is the reality. The reality of the relationship is you're safe with me. Continuing to get clarification between final card, our High Priestess energy. And for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, this is what I meant in terms of the energy moving from temperance into justice. Because I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy moving into that space, taking the temperature of situations, assessing and recognizing how something is, that then allows one to be able to make definitive decisions in terms of what it is one chooses to do. And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of this energy, working in that fashion, identifying and articulating what that force of change is. This is the energy that continually looks to the self. They've healed the ego. And when we heal the ego, we're able to be pragmatic in relationality to the problems that we work through, because we don't overly internalize them. We don't try to fix things outside of ourselves, right? We don't try to overly stress. We don't try to project the problems we have within without. This is what we talk about with the gift of healing the ego. The gift of the healing the ego is non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean going numb. Non-attachment does not mean separating oneself from the cares of the world. Non-attachment does not mean not caring about things. Non-attachment means being able to look at situations from the optics of not taking something personally, that allows one to be pragmatic in relationality to something that you need to change within the self, coming into a point of internal adjustment, versus something that needs to be worked through outside of the self. Final card, and for today's spread, between the High Priestess in combination with our Ten of Swords in its reversal. Two cards coming out, and they're in their transverse. Okay. All right, we've got here our Queen of Pentacles in its transverse in combination with our Eight of Swords in its transverse. So I want to talk, like, I think a lot of what we're seeing here, I have to point this out. We've got a lot of feminine energy on the table right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. We also have, I just keep on seeing, we've got a lot of work that's happening here in relationality to recognizing and identifying. I keep on hearing the word pragmatic. And the thing about pragmatic is, and again, this is why I was identifying the fact that for masculine and feminine right now, we're going through asynchronous lessons, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. That adaptability point and recognition to how one is navigating a circumstance or situation versus how another might. And what's interesting about this, and I like this a lot, because what I'm basically seeing that's happening here is, for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, the gift of differing perspectives is really incredible here, because I keep on seeing that this is almost the conversation between masculine and feminine, which has to do with the fact that the ability in terms of recognizing and identifying how something one does is perceived differently in the context of the self. There's a lot of that energy that I'm identifying here, because it is the conversation in relationality to potentially, I keep on hearing, and this is what's beautiful about it, there's a little bit of this path work of correction that occurs, right? Like, I almost see the space of like the energy deep within divine union giving each other advice in some way and saying, no, that's good advice for you. Like, that's good advice for you. That's good advice for you. But like working into the space of nuance, and this is what we talk about here. Working in the space of nuance is never a situation where you say, I was just doing what you told me to do and it wasn't working. It's understanding that when we give each other advice, we have to calibrate that advice for our own personal experience, for our own personal situations. And I keep on hearing that the gift that the energy deep within divine union has for one another is they listen to each other, but they're not implicit upon one another, which means they're able to recognize and identify the healthy communication that allows for options, that allows for alternate points of view, right? Can I give you another suggestion? It's like, it's giving me a lot of like the beauty and breath, the breath that we resuscitate in one another by offering each other another suggestion, right? Like the ability to give someone a viewpoint to help one see something in a way that you haven't before. And this is why I keep on seeing that this is the energy that feels that easement, because it's not the feeling of being in a relationship where another person is waiting for someone to tell them what to do or for what to do. But this is the energy that works in synchronous flow as it relates to putting ideas before each other, like working them through. I keep on hearing like shaping ideas in a way, moving them back and forth off of one another that allows for that. Like I keep on hearing that allows for some kind of like refinement of the external refinement of an internal thought is what I keep on hearing. So healthy communication. Welcome to Gemini season. We're getting closer to Gemini season, so we're going to see a lot of that. And this brings us to the energy that is coming into divine union. What is the energy? This is the gift. This is the gift that they give one another. Because for the gift of the energy coming into divine union, they're articulating what was told to them in places of trauma, articulating falsehoods about themselves, articulating the false narrative that the trauma told them about who they are. And what is the counterpart saying? I've never seen anything to make that be the case. I've never seen anything that articulates upon that energetic story that you're sharing, right? It's helping the energy disbelieve the illusion that the trauma created as it relates to who they are, helping them identify the difference between who they truly are at their center in a space of peace versus what they had to do to navigate or survive a difficult situation. So I keep on seeing that ability, right? Like working in that space, they're having conversations about the nature of love being rescue. Because often when we're finally rescued by love, we feel energetic guilt for the force of who we had to become when we were in a space that we were desperately trying to move towards what we thought was love, but was really more just trying to come into the space of energetically surviving. This brings us to a lot of the energy that is in separation. And this is a lot of the energy that I keep on hearing. I hear the energy saying, I'm trying, right? They're talking to each other about their try. They're talking to each other about what it is that they're trying to do. And what's beautiful about that is it's not that they're not saying that they're perfect in it, but in that moment that they say that they're trying, they become energetically perfected, because this is the energy that recognizes that trying is just a qualifier to something that we're doing. And so this is the energy that's learning the gift of authenticity, that is allowing for the ability to connect openly with someone, to have those conversations, at the same time feeling the anxiety of rejection every step of the way, but moving that aside, understanding that rejection is an illusion, and that if there's something about our authenticity that another person has aversion towards, better to find that out sooner than later than to build into a false manifestation, which would be a relationship that creates a lie of the self that one needs to maintain in order to exist within it. Bottom of the deck on this reading, 3 of Pentacles in its reversal. So that's a lot of this adaptability that we're seeing right now. You know, I feel like I got to stress this, something about this particular transit, especially as it relates to Saturn transiting into Aries, it feels a little bit like operating without a safety net, right? It does it creates a little bit of that space of not knowing what energetically comes next. But I need to articulate upon this. We never know what's going to come next. Okay, we never know. We never know. We set our intention in relationality to the direction that we aspire to move towards. And we hope for the best every step of the way. But remembering that hope becomes activated when we put energetic action towards it, right? A manifestation is a wish with legs. It's not just what one articulates that one aspires for. It's what one does in order to move towards it. So if you're feeling like this right now, if you feel a little bit of this anxiety, because I do feel like, again, Saturn transiting into Aries, a lot of energy in Aries right now, it can create a little bit of anxiety. It can create a little bit of testiness is the best way I can describe it. I want you to ground that into action that feels like it fortifies you. Remember, always patient, never waiting, means allowing oneself the ability to understand that even if a manifestation isn't coming to you at the speed that you hope it can, you can still move in the direction of the manifestation. So figuring out more ways you can do something that you can do better, right? Just allowing oneself to stay energetically productive through these moments, especially through like a little bit of this like a little bit of this like doldrum energy that we're going to hit a little bit with like Mercury and Taurus allows for that space of like, I can keep on hearing, allowing for a lot of seeds to be planted in relationality instead of focusing on one thing and agonizing as to why it's not coming to you with the rapidity that you hope it would. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do that there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who attended our recent class on the death card this week. If you missed that class, you can still catch it. It is now available for paid subscribers to my Substack over on my Substack. All you need to do if you'd like access to that class is become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber to my Substack, as a monthly paid subscriber to my Substack, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Archive. Now, it's not necessary, and our next class is going to be held on Wednesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Temperance card. Now would be a great time if you wanted to catch up. It's not necessary to catch up. I would do my best to give you a brief recap of our studies in each class. But if you wanted to catch up, this is the perfect time to join, because as a monthly subscriber, you'd have over 9 hours worth of material. That's over 2 classes a week leading up into our next class. And if you you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions you may have in relation to anything we are studying or have currently learned thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also have access to the full Tarot Church Library Archive. That is access to over 14 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library. You will also have access to the option of receiving a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best effect moving forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paying subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings. You can purchase these on an individual level per dream or as a series. I would encourage that if you purchase the dream interpretation package, that you start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again